I think it's an outdated system and should be only reserved purely for people that really make a difference.
It just really cheapens it by just handing out willy-nilly to, people that they know.
Especially when he's being ousted, if he just wants to then suddenly appoint loads of things and do all that. Don't really support that.
I think it's really dodgy. The honours list, it needs to be respected and given to, it needs to be allocated to people who are really worthy for whatever work they do, in the community or otherwise. And it just really cheapens it by just handing out willy-nilly to, people that they know and who were their cronies, for lack of a better word.
I think it's an outdated system and should be only reserved purely for people that really make a difference, and not just to pat old boys in the big boys network on the back sort of thing. I think we need to maybe reform the reformed House of Lords and get rid of the current family that's residing in the Buckingham House and replace them all with maybe an elected family every 10 years, something like that.
More sort of corruption, isn't it? So it's all kind of negative connotations to do with that. I don't really support, especially when he's being ousted, if he just wants to then suddenly appoint loads of things and do all that. Don't really support that.
I think there's a lot of flaws in that system in general. So I think keeping someone in an honours list and keeping the elite more elite is just perpetuating lots of problems in society. Yeah.
I don't quite know how I feel about that because I prefer certain prime ministers to other prime ministers. Liz Truss being in power for 6 weeks, does she have that right? I'm not sure if she should be eligible to have that right.
As I say, I would have voted for him first time round. Brexit, I was all for that. But he did turn out to be a true politician, so I don't think he's going to get back in. As a bloke, I don't know. He's a bloke. He's a bloke's bloke. But as a politician, he's a liar, like they all are. And as a prime minister, bit of a wanker.
I loved Boris Johnson. He's a character. He's so well spoken. And so educated, clearly. I just don't think he's a good leader for the country. I think his integrity, his moral compass is maybe somewhat lacking, and therefore I think it's probably a best thing for us that he has resigned.
As I know that he was accused and I think found of misleading, lying to Parliament, and I don't think there's any place in politics in any country for that.
It's a difficult time to be Prime Minister, during a pandemic, but it's clear to see he hasn't handled it well.
I've never been a big fan.
No,
even since the mayor days, he's always been a bit of a dick. So
yeah, I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of happy he's finally been caught out. Kind of felt like he was invincible, but
yeah.
I am very relieved that Boris Johnson resigned last week. I was never a fan of Boris Johnson. I think he's a bit of a buffoon. I was really upset about all of the breaking of the COVID rules and just his general tomfoolery and lack of respect for the government.
He's a bit of a scumbag, right? He's incompetent. He's a hypocrite. He's a liar. And yeah, he is kind of like a big caricature of himself. He's like an over-exaggeration of him.
I think Boris thinks he didn't lie, but I think, according to what most people would think, I think he did.
Yeah, I do believe he's lied. So I think a resignation is in order, isn't it, really?
Absolutely, definitely, 100%.
No one in this government is... No one in this government is there for anyone I know. I don't know anyone who supports it other than my granddad. And my granddad, in all fairness, he's he just sits at home and watches Pointless all day.
Some things that are going to be slightly misleading here and there, you're going to bend the truth but it needs to be in good faith, and I don't think that was what was done here.
They want to rally behind Rishi now, don't they? I think that they clearly Boris was lying, and now they want a new leader to rally behind. And I suppose Rishi has cleaner hands, doesn't he? In terms of he's newer to the scene in politics, and despite being Prime Minister now. But
I think it's a shame. I think we're moving to that really split political environment that you see in other countries as well, where you're either with your party or against another party, and I think that's not what it's about. I think people should do what they believe is the right thing to do for their constituents, for the country, etc. So I think they should have thought about that and really taken that decision according to what they think and what their constituents think, rather than just opt with what they believe is the party line.
He'll probably sort of he'll find a way to work in sort of some. He worked in newspapers before, didn't he? So I'm sure he'll find his way back into there. And
he's been announced as the new columnist for the Daily Mail.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, that's really good actually.
Well, there we go. He's not going away, is he?
Yeah.
So.
I think miracles do happen, and I think things are very quickly forgotten in this country. So within a month or two, people would think, "Oh, Boris was interesting, let's have Boris back." And I do think people don't give leaders enough time. I think our current Prime Minister is doing a fantastic job, but he should just be left to get on with the job, rather than us constantly within a month say, "Oh, why hasn't he fixed these million problems?" So you never know with Boris, do you? Never say never.
it depends really, doesn't it, whether the general public are prepared to let go and forgive for what happened during the pandemic and specifically Partygate. It doesn't... Look, I'm happy to say I'm left-wing, so it doesn't affect me whether he comes back or not, because I don't think he will give anything to the Tory party in the future if he does return. That's just the way I see it.
Do you have any sort of remarks for the departing Member of Parliament and former Prime Minister?
Must try harder.
Just
Fuck off. Don't come back, please.
Yeah, I'll second that. That'll do.
Boris, you're so lovely, but I think we're better off without you.
No words. I've got no words for Boris.
Enjoy your retirement.
He needs to get a trim. I'll say that. He needs to get a trim badly. Yeah.
Fucking fuck off. Yeah, you can fuck right off.